Hello, I am about to record episode 12 of the podcast I learned on my super fancy setup. This is my phone that records the podcast while I record the video on my computer. And the only way I'm talking myself into this video is that it's probably never going to see the light of day. So here we go. Hello, dear friends. It's Carly, and I'm trying something just a little bit different today as I record this episode of the I Learned podcast. I am also recording myself on video. So we'll see if this video ever makes it to the light of day. But I do want to try it. There's something saying that I want to try it. So we're going to try it. I think about some of my favorite podcasts, and I do really enjoy seeking out videos of them talking because I personally enjoy watching their face and their facial expressions and their hands if they're using their hands all animated like I am. Oh my gosh, yesterday I made a YouTube video for my channel answering the question, what is shadow work? And in that video, when I was done recording it and uploading it to YouTube, and it proposes a few still images for you to consider that maybe you might want one of these takes, these little snapshots to be your still image for this video. And I swear it was me making one weird facial expression with my hands all cockeyed in the frame, like just like three different options of like, oh my gosh, I'm looking at these like, wow, those are so helpful to understand like how freaking crazy my facial expressions are while I'm talking. So yeah, who wouldn't want to watch a video of me telling my stories on this podcast? Um, so we'll try it out. We'll see. Because I want to be comfortable. I've felt very safe and secure recording these podcast episodes because it's just my voice, because you can't see me, because it's so one directional. Um, and I've only attracted positive feedback out of it so far. So yeah, like it's been really easy to feel safe and secure. But with like being on video at the same time, and then I'm seeing like there's this peek into the world, like where these messages and where these stories are coming from. Little dog Scooby. She's chewing on something. Oh, never a dull moment when you have a 1-year-old corgi running around your house. I also have uh, uh, another dog. She's a Jack Russell Terrier mix. And hey, knock it off. Go on. Get out of here. Go on. Go on. Go on. Here you go. You can't be chewing like that. Mama's making a video. It's loud and they can hear it. Yeah. Okay, so you go lay down. You chew on something else that don't make so much noise. Yeah. Okay, so I think I got my dog to stop chewing on the thing. We'll see. Um, have no clue what I was even talking about before, so that seems perfectly appropriate. That we're ready to move on to something else. And like what? I don't know. We'll have to just give it a second. Give it a second and see what comes. Mm. Pretty much the only thing on my mind right now is this conversation that I have coming up here in about 45 minutes from right now, which I'm really, really looking forward to. And it's just so synchronistic. Yesterday was the last couple days, I guess, because it started Wednesday and then there was another one yesterday that were just like, I feel like those synchronicities, those moments with the universe of like, how did you line it up so perfectly? Um, so every Wednesday morning, I do a group chart reading for free. I offer mini natal chart readings. And there are people who come like every single week and get a 5 to 10 minute bit of information and discussion about their chart. And one of the ladies who has been coming to that, and I think I met her through that event. Like, she came to one of those and has come back repeatedly and has come to some of my other stuff. And for this week, she wanted to talk about her daughter-in-law. She wanted to look at her daughter-in-law's chart, which I do. I just, I like to be transparent about what are we really talking about here, because I'm always gonna, put a positive spin on whoever's chart it is, because I personally believe that every single one of us, our energy is our gift. It's the way we use energy, unique to ourselves, like unique like our DNA or our fingerprint. Our unique mix of energy is specifically tailored to what we're here to do. And when you get walking on that correct path, you start to feel energetically like, I was born for this. I was made to do what I'm doing right now. And every single person deserves to feel like that and is capable of feeling like that if they view themselves with enough love and enough, celebration and admiration. Um, Self-love, basically. Everybody deserves self-love. So that's how I interpret natal charts, is like, let's look for your gifts. Let's understand the talents and the advantages of having your energy like this, because I personally believe that we chose our starting point, that we chose our birth entry point. We chose the day, the time, the location, our parents, all of it is part of the plan, part of not necessarily God's plan, more our plan is what I believe. As a soul, we had an intention for why we were coming forward into this life. We had a purpose. And there's a real level of satisfaction and fulfillment that can only be filled by living out our soul's purpose. So this is how I'm looking at each individual person, is that they are an extension of the divine, a unique expression of source energy. That is how I see myself and everyone else around me. So that's how I interpret natal charts, and people tend to appreciate it. So she wants to look at her daughter-in-law's chart. I'm totally cool with it. And we get in the session, and as I'm pulling up the chart, I never look at them ahead of time. It's a free session. So I'm like, I can take a second to piece together the chart in the session versus doing research ahead of time. So as I'm pulling up the chart, I ask her, why are we looking at this today? And she starts telling the story about how, this is her daughter-in-law's chart and they don't have a great relationship, and her daughter-in-law thinks that she's too much and is basically pushing her away. And as she's saying that, I'm like bells and whistles going off in my brain and in my ears that are like, this is like a full circle moment for me personally, because I was engaged at one point. We got engaged at the very end of 2014. We're supposed to get married in September of 2015, and I called off the wedding 6 weeks before it was scheduled to take place. And my would have been mother-in-law, Carla, um, she and I had basically the same relationship that my friend in the chart reading is describing with her daughter-in-law, except now this person is playing the Carla side of the conversation. And so instantly I'm like, this is a new level. This is a new experience in my healing. This is blowing my freaking mind, is what it did, honestly. I'm just sitting there like, holy crap, like how amazing. And then I get the daughter-in-law's chart on the screen. And that's when it really like started to like melt down my insides, because her chart looks so much like mine. It's like insane. She's also a Taurus rising. She's a Capricorn midheaven. She's got the same cluster of planets in the ninth house. She's got Pluto in the seventh. She's got on and on. She's got Pisces North Node. She's got like all of these different like social and generational placements are the same as mine, because I'm only 9 months older than she is. And oh my freaking God, like it really blew out my mind at that point, honestly, to be sitting face to face with someone who's having the same experience that I had like 6 years ago, and to be able to to hopefully help. I mean, that's really all that ever comes out of my sessions is like a positive spin or an uplifting spin on the situation. And so, like, in that moment, I'm sitting there listening to her tell her story, and I just, like, right off the bat was like, okay, so I normally read charts at this session. I don't tell my story, but I'm going to have to tell my story. And so I tell the story of canceling my wedding, or like, more so the friction that I had with my mother-in-law, which put pressure on everything, was not the only factor by any stretch of the imagination. My fiance and I, we had our own issues that had nothing to do with my mother-in-law. But it was through Carla's influence and relationship into my life that I was led to find my spiritual path. That was the beginning of my spiritual path, was the what felt like a head-to-head conflict with Carla, where she was expecting me to be. She wanted us to connect in a certain way that was favorable to how she preferred to connect with people. And the way she preferred to connect with people was, like, on the phone, talking on the phone. She lived like an hour and a half away from us at that point, so we only saw her like once a month. But which, I mean, that was also a point, was like, come visit me more often, and then also call me on your way home from work every day. You have a 30-minute commute, call me. And like, I'm as introverted as they get. So my drive home is for decompressing and enjoying my solitude and my silence and clearing out my energy field. And I will not be calling you every day on my way home from work. That is not going to happen. And she took it personally, as like I didn't want to talk to her. And I felt like the disconnection was that she didn't understand me, that like she was taking it personally, as in, I just don't want to talk to her on the phone. But I felt like I was trying to express that, like, that's just not how I operate. That's not that's not the kind of relationship that I have with anyone, including my own mother. And I don't know how to do what you want me to do. And so because she was taking it personally, it was upsetting her. And I felt really bad about that. I didn't want her to be upset. I didn't want her to take it personally, because it wasn't. And so, classic Carly, I'm like, I'll write her an email. I'll just write her this letter and it'll explain everything and she'll get it and it'll be so great. And I wrote the email, and she like gave me like a 5-word response, which is fine. That her response was never the point of me being inspired to write that email, because writing that email, I started a Pinterest board called INTJ Female. I was really into Myers-Briggs at the time, and INTJ females are the rarest female personality type. So I felt like that's a good place to start. Like, let me figure out, why am I so weird? Why can I not be what she wants me to be? Like, there was a lot of shame around just not naturally being what she wanted me to be, that like that part of it played itself out. And eventually I got to where I was like, you know what, no, like, even if that's what she wants from me, that's not who I am, and I don't think I have to feel guilty about that. Like, that was all part of this whole Carla experience for me. And so when we get to the point where it just is, it's like she's so upset, and I'm not doing this on purpose. I'm not trying to upset her. I need to explain. So I start writing this email. I make the Pinterest board, and that Pinterest board wound up with like 4,000 pins on it, because I just kept going. Like, I found enough quotes and like pieces of like pieces of writing that I felt expressed who I was. Like, anything that helped me clarify my self-awareness, I put it on that Pinterest board. And so I found enough to like write her this email, but it was such a soothing, satisfying process, not to explain it to her, but for me to understand it. Because when I first sat down to write that email to Carla about, here's why I can't be what you want me to be, I didn't know how to explain it. I didn't know myself well enough at that time to explain to someone who's totally not getting me, explain it in clear enough terms so that they can appreciate it and understand it. And like I said, I don't think I ever really got her to understand me, but I did open the door for me to understand me. And that changed my whole life. That was the beginning of my spiritual journey. And it's so fun to me to look back at that INTJ female Pinterest board, because it starts off as the cynical, unhappy, pissy with people person that I was at that time. And so much of it was like introvert exhaustion, where I was just leading a life that was like far too busy and populated with other people for my particular energy grid. Um, I get along so much better when I spend more and more and more time by myself, and then socialize as it feels good, be around other people as it feels good, connect on Zoom as it feels good, and but for the most part, physically, I do prefer to be alone. Like, I am very sensitive to the physical energies of other people. And so I think so much of where I started was really just trying to live up to who I thought I was supposed to be. Like, like that marriage, that engagement, that relationship, on paper, it was gold. It was pure gold. You have two incomes that are both very good. We both worked in tech, and we had just bought a house, and like it was everything. It was like the American dream. Like, it was picture perfect. And on the inside, it so wasn't. It just wasn't even close to good, let alone perfect. And so at the end of the day, I had to choose, like, you know, when it really came down to time to mail the invitations, that was really what got me. Was like, those invitations, they sat there for like 6 weeks, and I walked by them every single day, and every single day I was like, I really don't feel like mailing those. I really don't feel like mailing those. I really don't feel like mailing those. Meanwhile, our relationship is like, you're engaged, like, you're leading up to your wedding. Like, this should be some of the happiest times of your life. Like, it should be really bubbly and exciting and all of that. And it's none of those things. And I'm kind of just still on this autopilot vibe of like, I got the big ring, I got the house, I got the guy who makes good money. Like, I'm set. Like, this is all I need. And I didn't ever feel like mailing the invitations. And then one day, it was early August, I'm walking out of my office into the parking garage. I get in my car and I shut the door and just immediately break down crying. And I'm not a crier by any stretch of the imagination. The only time I cry is when I'm very happy, and that's basically it anymore. But I instantly break down crying, and I'm crying for several seconds. I remember it feeling very strange. I'm crying for several seconds before the thought comes, Scooby. Um, the thought comes, you have to cancel the wedding. And it was that simple. And in that moment, in that instant, I realized that I was crying because I was terrified, that I knew that that was true. I had been telling myself things like, this is so stupid. Like, this makes me look freaking ridiculous. And here you go. Like, uh, I was telling myself things like, hopefully he and I will get divorced soon so that I can get back to living my life. Like, if that's where I was while I was engaged, like, what the fuck was I thinking? Like, thinking that I was going to go through with that wedding anyway. Like, I was just totally not like waking up and smelling the coffee at that point. Like, I was like so intent on, I said I would marry him. We are getting married, period. Like, that is happening. And then meanwhile, I'm like, hopefully it's only like a year or two and then we'll be divorced and then I can go on my way. Like, Carly, that should have been my first sign. And yet it wasn't. It wasn't. I didn't wake up to that. I woke up when I got in my car and started bawling and was like, what is this? What is going on? And it was the voice clear as day. You have to cancel the wedding. And I was crying because I knew it was true. I knew what I was going to do. I knew that I was going to walk that path of canceling the wedding. And he and I both worked at the same place for a time. So it was like 500 people at that company that, like, like I had worked there for, years at that point, and he had been there for a couple years. And so, I mean, pretty much the whole company knows that we're together, knows that we're engaged, and now we're not anymore. So it was like the next 7 months. Pretty much clear. I think the last time it happened was like April. We were supposed to get married in September, and the following April, somebody asked me how Jason was, how he's doing. And I was like, well, I don't know because, we didn't get married, and and I always gave them a perfectly honest answer. And almost always, the people asking about my personal life felt really awkward when I gave them the answer to the question that they had posed. And I felt like every single one of those was like a little bit of planting a seed out into the universe of like, people can mind their business. If somebody wants you to know something, they'll be telling it to you. You don't have to ask just to make polite conversation. Um, so yeah, like especially the ones that asked like, right when I got back from because I still went to my family's house during the time off that I had planned for the wedding. And so lots of people didn't realize that there wasn't a wedding. And yeah, asked me when I got back, like, how was it? And I just told them, like, I didn't, at one point, I considered sending out an email to like the users of the company, like an email list that has all 500 people on it and being like, here's what happened. Stop asking me. Because it was like, go into the kitchen. Here's this person. They ask. Go to the elevator. Here's this person. They ask. Here, go to the meeting. Sitting there making small talk ahead of the meeting. This person asks. Like, kill me now. Like that was the worst part about it was, I mean, getting out of the engagement, that part was easy. Yeah, he wasn't into it any more than I was, apparently, as it turned out. Um, but yeah, the follow-up questions from other people was the only hard part, and nobody was ever not supportive. Nobody, I mean, that was kind of where I was like in those days when I was thinking like hopefully we get divorced soon, was like, what would people think if I just canceled my wedding? Like that was I was legit worried what people would think. I thought that they will receive it better as a divorce than a canceled wedding. Like that I would look better in the long run if I got divorced than if I bailed on my engagement. And like saying that out loud is like, wow. Wow. Wow, Carly, like that, caring what other people think, it runs deep. It runs real deep. I was about to get married just because of what people think. And that just, I'm embarrassed. I'm honestly embarrassed to say that that's where I was. And still, like I've come so far, and still a lot of my issues center around caring about what other people think. And that's maybe a great segue into I've renamed my practice because I wanted to and I can. And the new name is Owning Authenticity. That's the name of my website, my YouTube channel, Facebook page. Everything is going to this new name of Owning Authenticity because I've basically clicked in with the help of starting this podcast that what I really want to do with my life and my voice is to tell my real story, the part that has all, like the story that has all the parts, not just the parts that make me look good, not just the here was the happily ever after part. Like I really do want to lay this out there in a way that other people can look at it and can love their own authentic self with maybe kinder eyes. That none of us are ever going to be perfect, and self-love, I mean, we can't wait until we're perfect to love ourselves anyway. And so that's where, seeking out and living from a place of authenticity, to me, like I've been looking for love in all the wrong places for so long, and I finally found self-love, like that inner source of love, and I've never felt happier or more safe to be the real me in my entire life. I've never attracted such good relationships with people who support me being my real self. um, as I found my authentic self, life got better and better and better. But oh my God, is it the scariest thing I've ever done? Yeah, it is. And I want my owning authenticity practice to be about showing other people how to be authentic through their fear, how to walk their path with courage, meaning we're not trying to be fearless, we're trying to own our authenticity. We're trying to prioritize ourself and honor ourself and trust that we came forward exactly as we meant to be. And the rest of it is up to the universe and how we offer our frequency on a daily basis. And yeah, the rest of it, I mean, there's so much outside of our control, but choosing to live with authenticity is 100% inside our control. And I am really done letting my fear hold me back. And I'm very much like undergoing this transformation, like on this podcast. Like as I go along, it's happening, right? So I still haven't published my spiritual work on my personal Facebook page. Like all these things, there's so many steps that are still coming in the future. Um, but it's such a joy to get ready, to be ready, to be ready, and to feel myself taking these one step at a time, taking steps forward and working towards owning my authenticity out loud and feeling safe enough to do that. And that's where, I point every single time back to security and safety, and all of that is something else that comes from inside of us. And for me personally, as I watch my self-love grow, my sense of security rises right along with it. My self-esteem rises right along with it. My confidence, all of those things are positively correlated to my self-love. And I talk about in the shadow work video that I posted yesterday on my YouTube channel, um, about when it comes to self-love, we have to love all of ourself, all of the stupid things that we've ever said, like hopefully I get divorced soon when I'm not even married. Yeah, you got to own it all. You got to like be able to tell your story and love yourself at the same time. And I think, like maybe that's my greatest gift, is to love myself anyway and to tell my story with love anyway, even though I continue to make choices that I don't always agree with. Like I continue to let fear guide me more than I wish it did, but I'm learning how to be more courageous in the face of that fear. And I love that that's something that I can learn. So I think that's a really good spot to leave that. Thank you for listening so much. You'll never know what it means to me that you guys listen to these episodes. And just like yeah, I'll see you on the next one.